We all look down here.
You so too. You so too. Mommy, we got donuts.
What?
That's to surprise her.
What?
Surprise!
Surprise! I'm coming. Pennywise loves donuts.
Yeah.
And children. Getting scared.
Oh, stop.
Teeth are falling out. Oh my gosh, what a transformation, right? It goes from like normal to creepy. Anyway, so I'm just gonna go ahead and glue down my brows. My brow hairs are super coarse and just very dark and relatively thick. So this becomes a process, but I'm just gonna try to get them as flat as I possibly can. So next I'm going in with this orange correcting concealer to try to mask the color of my brows a little bit better. And we're just going to apply that on, and then I'm just going to blend it out with a beauty blender. I'm not going to dab it all the way out. I'm just dabbing it out just a little bit just so it's not so like bam harsh. And my beauty blender is damp, by the way, because we don't want to pick up the product. We just want to blend it out a little bit. Next, I'm just going to go in with some concealer. I'm using the Kevyn Aucoin, the Etherealist concealer. This is in the lightest shade. It's in light 01. And I'm going to be applying that over the brows, over the orange corrector, so we can really try to cover our brows as best as we can. So because my brow hairs are so coarse and so dark, I have to go over them multiple times. So I will be going over them multiple times throughout the entire video just because I want to get it as masked as possible. If you really want to mask them, you can totally use some modeling wax. I'll go ahead and leave a link down below on how to use modeling wax. I used it in my Barbie skull tutorial from last year. So if you guys want to use that instead, you could totally do that and you can get the exact effect that Pennywise had in the movie where it was just like an indented brow. But because I wanted to keep this tutorial relatively simple and I wanted you guys to be able to use stuff that you already pretty much had, I didn't use modeling wax. And then I'm just going in with the same concealer and just blending that out all over the face. I am going to be adding some white face paint. I'm using the Nye Clown White face paint. And we're just going to mix that with the concealer and just blend that all out and blend it all together. And I'm using a brush to blend it out because I feel like a brush was a lot easier to use to blend out the white paint as opposed to a beauty blender because it's such a thick consistency. And the brush just really helped to get it even looking. So now I'm just going to set everything. I'm using the Nars Light Reflecting Setting Powder, and I'm just going to concentrate it more so under the eyes so that way we don't crease. And then I'm just going to blend it all over the rest of the face with a big fluffy brush. You could use a powder that has some kind of lighter pigment to it if you wanted to, but I'm just going to go in with this translucent one. So moving on to our brows, I'm going in with the Pure Cosmetics Contour Diaries and picking up this cool toned contour shade. I know it looks slightly warm here, but in person it's pretty cool toned. And we're just going to go ahead and start carving out those Pennywise looking brows. So Pennywise's brows were more of like an indentation in the movie, but I'm just going to go in with this gray, well, not gray, but this like somewhat natural looking, grayish looking contour shade and carve it out. And then we're going to go over it with a beauty blender just to make it look a little bit less harsh, just so it looks kind of like an indentation, even though we're not actually using any modeling clay to indent it. I feel like this technique is the closest you could get to Pennywise looking brows without using any sculpting wax. And then here I'm just blending it out, just kind of dabbing it out with the beauty blender since it has a little bit of product on it still. I'm just going to kind of go over it so it looks a little bit more natural and a little bit less harsh. Alright, so now for shadow, I'm going in with the Pure Pro and Ishin collab palette, and I'm picking up Lola, which is kind of like a gray toned brown shade, and we're just going to buff that into the outer V and through the crease. While I'm blending it upwards, I'm blending it a little bit higher than I normally would since our brows are way high up there. I want to make sure that it balances out nicely. So we're just going to blend it out a little bit higher than we normally would. Then I'm just also dragging it down the lower lash line and just buffing it out. Okay, so now I'm just picking up 3 AM and I'm going to pack that on all over the lid, and we're just going to blend that out up into the crease and upper crease just so we get like a nice diffused and gradient going on. And I'm also just packing that on to the outer third of the lower lash line just to add some more definition, but then to also darken it up. And then since we're not wearing contacts, I wanted to make my eyes look as creepy as possible, I guess. So I'm going in with the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Lip Pencil in the shade 714. It's like a red lip pencil. You can use any red lip pencil or any red eyeliner that you may have. And we're just going to apply that to the waterline. Okay, so to add a little bit more flair to the lids, I'm taking the My Little Pony palette by Pure Cosmetics and picking up Tempest Shadow. It's like a red eyeshadow, it's matte. And we're just gonna dab this onto the lids and then blend that out with a fluffy brush. Okay, so for the inner corners, I'm going in with this silvery shade. It's like a shimmery silvery shade by Flower Beauty. It's in there, I think it's called the Warm Naturals eyeshadow palette. And we're just going to pack that onto the inner corner. I am spritzing my brush to make it a little bit wet so that way we get a super intense brightening effect in that inner corner. And then for mascara, I'm using the LashBoss Mascara by Laura Geller. This is one of my favorite mascaras. It's probably like my favorite mascara right now. It's so good. I love that it has shorter bristles on one end and longer bristles on the other end, just to really help you get to the base and then also lengthen. Love this mascara. So we're going to be coating the upper and lower lashes. And then for falsies, I'm using the Koko lashes in Goddess. Moving on to lips, I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Liquid Lipstick in Sarafine, and then I'm also going to be lining the lips first using the same lip liner that I used in my waterline. So this is the Urban Decay 714 24/7 Glide On Lip Pencil. So we're just going to be lining the lips with this and then filling them in and then going over that with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Liquid Lipstick in Sarafine. So I'm just going to contour just a little bit. I'm not going to get too crazy with it. I just want like a light contour and a light definition. So I'm going in with that cool tone shade from the Pure Cosmetics palette. And we're just going to contour up our cheekbones and our forehead and our chin just a little bit just to get a little bit more definition. Okay, so now for the fun part, I'm going in with the Ben Nye Cuts and Bruises Wheel. And I'm taking that red shade. And this is what we're going to use to make our Pennywise clown laugh line thing he has going on there. So we're just going to go ahead and drag it from the sides of my mouth all the way up to the center of my lower lid. And I'm just going to go over that multiple times just to build up the coverage and kind of thicken it a little bit more. Since my brush is very, very fine and very pointed, I wanted it to be a little bit thicker and not so thin. So for this part, I'm just taking it kind of a little bit lower than the edge of the eyeshadow that we blended out, kind of like at the, well, I don't even know what to say. You guys can see it right there. But I'm just taking it from there and then flicking it upwards to get a sharper point up top. And then I'm just going to thicken it up a little bit and then straighten out that lower bottom part of it. So that way it's like a kind of like a squarish shape that comes to a point. And you guys, I literally almost cut this out of the video when I was chopping it up. But anyway, so well, now that we have it, I'm just going to go ahead and add the same paint to my nose, that red Ben Nye paint. And I am going to be blending it out using the red shadow. So I'm going to set it with the red shadow and then blend out that edge. That part I lost. I don't know where in the world it went, but that part of the footage got cut out. So we're just going to see this part and then my nose is just magically going to look blended out and diffused. So here's where I go in with that red shadow, and we're going to use that red shadow to set all of the red that we put down, aside from the lips, but all of that red that we put down, because since it is a cream product, we don't want it smearing too intensely everywhere. So setting it is really going to help it stay in place. After I get that initial set down, I'm going to start to blend out the edges on both sides of these lines, just so it looks a little bit diffused on both sides and it doesn't look so sharp and crisp. I want it to look a little messy, a little bit diffused, so that's why I'm blending out those two sides. So I wanted to give myself kind of like a gradient effect to the lips and then also deepen up those lines we have going up our face. So I'm taking MAC's Nightmoth lip pencil and I'm doing kind of like an ombre effect. So I'm going in on the outer portions of the lip and then blending it on inwards. And then I'm also using the pencil to deepen up those lines, kind of just going down the center of the lines as opposed to like the entire thickness of the line. I just want to give it like a little bit of depth. So here's where I'm just taking a little brush and just blending it out. The brush isn't super duper fluffy. It's kind of fluffy, but it's kind of flat too. I feel like it was the perfect brush to use to blend this out and get the gradient the way I wanted it. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that to blend this out, and I'm taking it up those lines as well, just to diffuse that line as well. So in the photo reference that I have of Pennywise, it looked like the lines that he had going up his face were a little bit textured, like there was some diagonal lines going through it. So that's just what I'm doing here with that Nightmoth pencil, and I'm just creating just some diagonal lines, and then we're going to go in with that brush to diffuse them a little bit so they don't look so harsh. So since this is kind of like a girly version of Pennywise, I of course thought I would add some glitter. So I'm taking the Too Faced glitter glue, and I didn't have any finer glitter than this craft glitter here. So I'm just taking this craft glitter. If you have finer glitter, it might look a little bit better, but this is all I had that was red. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dab that onto the tip of the nose. So that's going to be it for the makeup portion. I'm just going to go ahead and throw on my wig and my neck piece that I made and throw on some white gloves. And you could totally stop right here if you want to, but of course, if you want to go the extra mile and add some blood, I feel like I had to add blood to something this year. I love adding blood to stuff like every year, so had to do it this year too. I'm going in with the Nye Thick Blood. It's kind of like coagulated blood, very thick and yucky. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this to the sides of my mouth and just in random places around my mouth too. And then I'm also taking it all over my glove that I was wearing, or gloves that I'm wearing, and then I'm taking it on that neck piece as well, just to make it look really bloody and gory, like we just ate some children. So after we add the blood, that's going to be it for this tutorial. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and thumbs up the video. Have a happy and safe Halloween. Love you guys. Bye.
Y'all look down here.